All right, so I'm out by the river. It's getting pretty chilly. It's got to be. It says 28 degrees. I think it's probably a little less than that, but that was probably the last time I had service and my watch updated. So, no cell service out here. But I just wanted to show sort of a, like if you just had to make do. I don't have anything with me. I just stopped out here to check out this spot and see how the river froze. This is where I usually kayak out here. River's a little bit, this is like a little inlet, a little pocket. So it's a little bit open still, right back in there, but the real river is out that way and it's frozen over, but I guarantee that it's not safe. You'd fall through. So anyway, point being, I've got tons of birch out here. Wanted to grab some of this and just kind of show if, say, you were out here and got injured or whatever and needed to get by, needed to make a fire to stay warm or something like that. So I'll grab a few chunks of this. And then I'm just gonna go back over here. So what we'd really do is go underneath, say, that pine tree over there. So I was already over there walking around, and there's almost no snow there. I mean, this is the start of January, and we've just finally got 4 or 5 inches of snow. So, which is really weird. We normally have 2 to 3 feet by now. So, but you can see everything's kind of still sticking through. So this is our first major snowfall. We got snow a month or two ago. It's about the same amount, and then it never really stuck. It went away, got warm. So anyway, we've got almost nothing here. So I'm gonna kick a little spot here and put a base down. I'm gonna put this birch bark down, since that won't really matter if it gets wet. And then I'm gonna build a log base, and I'll come back. So just keep recording, because that way I don't have to keep taking my glove on and off. I'm not very sophisticated with having a remote control for the camera or anything like that. So let me see what I can find just in downwood. This piece alone will make a pretty good base. That'll just keep us up out of the snow. Kind of got this idea from Clay Hayes, I think his name is, that won Alone one of the last years. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but he was the one that won the last couple of years ago. So I'm gonna put the camera down like that. Let's see if we can see that yet. So he did a video where he ran through, with no cuts, and just kind of basically got a fire going with, I think, just his Leatherman, which I thought, do a similar sort of thing. This stuff is all pretty punky and dead, which is why I'm going to use it as the base. So it'll eventually, it won't burn down as quick, so it will give us like a better burn on the bottom there. Alright, some little more pieces of birch bark there, a couple more pieces over there in the snow, and I've got my lighter in my pocket. well, I've got 2 lighters. I've got my Exotech Titan light, which is like a sealed Zippo, and then I've also got my lighter that I did the video on last year with the tape all over it, which I'm going to do another video. I don't know if I'll do it today. I'm going to do one where I keep my hands in the snow, get my hands all cold, and do a cold weather version of that, because people said they, you know, that you wouldn't be able to tear the duct tape off and that kind of thing. So I'm going to redo that. I'm going to go get some more of this birch bark, and I'll pause you guys and come right back with birch bark and some small pine twigs, like all the dry stuff from the bottom of a pine. All right, so this stuff is got some more birch. If you've got really big birches like that one I have over there, this stuff is so thick. This is around the base usually, and it's almost like wood in itself. It's really stiff, so this stuff burns great. These are just pine branches from the bottom of a pine tree, and a couple of pieces off of a dead cherry that's right there behind me, which I would push over for more wood if I needed to here. I've got a dead birch there. I've got a dead cherry there, but I only have a Swiss Army knife hiker, I think it is, the one with the saw that's like a tinker, that's in my pocket. So, but I've got a dead tree over here. Let's see if that's in frame that I'm gonna go grab. All right, so I'm not sure how much of that I got on camera there, but this is more cherry. It's dead standing, but it's enough to get a good decent fire going. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna nail on this piece of birch bark, keep my knees out of the snow a little bit. I'll put this stuff all over here. This piece, let's see if I can break again. Okay, so I've only got just basically my knife, which is a Bark River EDC size model, so not really gonna do a whole lot. It's like a 3-inch blade, but it's just what I have on me. You know, I was going to the store and then I thought, well, I'll cruise down here and take a look at the river, and then I had the thought, like, you know, might as well do a video, like, you know, I don't know, what if you're down here and you ran out of gas or whatever. I guess hopefully the Jeep starts when I leave. That would be kind of ironic. So this stuff, the reason I'm not trying to buck it down and instead I'm batoning it long, like I broke it between those 2 trees over there. I'm not sure if that show it on camera, but once you make it a little bit smaller like this, then you can just usually bust it over your knee. So that way you don't have to try to buck it down anymore. And then in this case, like, it's kind of smaller here, so I'm going to try to dig in, which you can't see. I'm going to come into the side of it where it's a little skinnier, and then I'm going to baton kind of in and over. That way I can get some splinters off of it. So it's not going to matter too much once this gets going. So, you know, I'm doing this kind of quick and dirty as a, you know, more of an emergency thing. Not a lot of build up. So, you know, normally you would make really good tinder piles and your smalls and your mediums and all your stuff. But if you were in a rush, you know, if you were stranded or whatever, you probably wouldn't even do this much. But, you know, not enough fire prep will really teach you a lesson fast too. So, all right, so I'm going to take and flare a couple of feathers off of here just to make some shavings. And I don't need a lot, I just want a little bit of really fine stuff. And then I'm gonna put my knife back. I've got all this birch bark down here. I'm gonna use this kind of rotten piece. Normally I'd set this aside, use it for my baton, or use this one as my baton. I'd split this one down a little bit more. I'm not gonna make like a tremendously huge fire here. So, and then I've got my smaller birch bark down here, and the piece that I'm kneeling on is really fine. So I would absolutely just use a lighter since that's what I have, but I'm gonna not do that just because it's, you know, everybody wants to do everything with a ferro rod now. So I'm gonna do that just to kind of show. So I'm gonna take this piece here and flare it up. I've got my little ferro rod that's in my little pocket kit. It's one of these Exotac, small Exotacs. So the end of that thing, that's like that little shape, whatever that is, scrapes up birch bark really well. So put that down, right down there on that base. And so that would probably be enough, but I'm going to kind of overdo it because I want to make sure this works. So we get all these little pieces, rip this into some fine shreds. Okay, so all right, this finer birch bark is going to go. Once this starts, I'm going to throw that on top. Got my little pile that hopefully you can see there. It looks like you can. Okay, so then this thing flips around and this screws in to give you a little bit of a handle. Now I'd probably just use the back of my knife, but I've got this here, and I don't love this. It doesn't work awesome, but I'm going to try it. So I'm scraping some of it down I don't know if you can see that, probably not. See little metal shavings down in there. Of course that goes in the way. So see, I've got some metal shavings down in there. And then, yeah, of course I go and do that and it puts me in the way. So let me move you over this way, if that's better. So my little pile is right there. Tip you down. My little pile is there. Okay. Get all this stuff out of the way. This filming stuff is so much harder than just doing. Okay. That's what I don't love about this Exotac rod, is it? You've got to go quick with it, or it makes those little shards. There we go. Get this little tiny piece in there. There we go. All right, hopefully that was on film. Okay, so get this birch bark in there. And I've got so much birch bark that, you know, I can go crazy with it. I'm gonna pick you guys up. Bring you over here. All right, more birch bark. More of that stuff. All these little twigs. Pull this back away over here. Birch bark. I want to layer birch bark in every so often so that it kind of prolongs things. So I'm going to lay some logs, some birch bark, more birch bark, some sticks. It's not got to be perfect. Everything's just going in at once. Remember, we're supposed to be freezing to death. And then some birch bark on there. Okay, we'll throw my ferro rod in my pocket so I don't lose it. Never lay your ferro rod down, that'll be bad times. You'll lose it for sure, even though you think it. Ferro rod and knife, never set it down. I'll scoot you guys back just a hair. Alright, there's that. Obviously this is gonna continue to go. Like, you know, it doesn't need to be, I don't really need to let it go, but now it's kind of chilly, so I'm gonna let it go. Warm up before I go back to the car. The car's like, I don't know, half mile or so over there. So these pine branches on. This won't go long enough that it'll burn down through even. It's going to be fine to smother back out anyway. So put these on there. Still in video, good. Dried cherry branches work really good. I've used that stuff many times. So anyway, point being, obviously, if you have birch, it's amazing. But if you don't, fatwood is anywhere there's pines. I've done lots of fatwood videos. Everybody's probably sick of those. But I have fatwood everywhere around here, and I love it. So I'll continue to make the videos anyway, because I just make them for myself anyway, because it's fun. That was warm. Push that up into there. And then I got another piece of this really heavy birch bark that I'll throw on top, almost like a log. Stuff's super hot. That base won't burn through anytime soon. So pull this camera back, it's getting warm. So I've got the birch bark layered in there so that as the birch bark burns, it'll reignite everything else. So that way stuff won't go out when it's really wet and snowy like this. You want to, or at least I like to layer that. I mean, I'm no expert, but it's always worked really well for me. So I like to layer things in. Ooh, that was close. So I like to layer stuff in so that it'll continue the burn. So I'm gonna put the piece that I was kneeling on there. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna pause you. It's 3:10 my time, and then I'll come back in a minute and we'll see how it's going. Right, it's been let's see, 3:17. So I think it was 3:10. I think I said before. So 7 minutes. But I didn't want to push everything in until I showed that, that it's still going. Here's that piece of really heavy duty birch bark kind of hanging on there. I'm going to just push everything in so it burns more completely so that I don't have to put out as much before I leave. But normally, I mean, obviously, if I was staying, see, this punky one is really, holding. So these back here are really good. Let's see. So these little guys on top, they've kind of burnt through. But yeah, this thing would definitely sustain if it was, if I needed it to. That base is still not really burning through down here. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it. They were like kind of those punky dead cherry tree I found over there, and it was down, so I knew it was going to be kind of punky and wet. But like I said, I like that for a base because it won't burn through as good. It's like almost like using a dry, or I mean a green wood base instead of something dry that's going to burn through. So in the wintertime, the base just keeps it up out of the snow. So I mean, we have, other than this year, normally a bunch of snow, and snow year round, and camping in the snow and all that kind of stuff up here. So I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that or not, but anyway, that normally we're very similar to Canada and such, I believe. We're way up pretty close to Canada. I could get to Canada in about 3 hours, but that's a lot of driving west to get over to the Sioux. So but yeah, that's pretty much 3 hours west almost. So it's about 45 minutes north and 3 hours west to get into Canada, but because I've got Lake Superior straight above me. So anyway, that thing would continue to burn. There's, like I said, dead cherry behind me that I could use. It's pretty hardwood. It burns pretty long. I've got a dead cherry there that, with the limited tools I have, would be kind of annoying to try to fell. If I could push it over, that would be fine. Let's see where I'm pointing. That tree. That's a pretty big tree. I don't know if I could get it over or not. If I had my pocket saw with me, that would absolutely work. I could just walk back to my car. It's like a half a mile. So, but this is just a mess around situation to kind of prove a point, that if you were injured, or say I was dicking around out here and I twisted my ankle or something, I mean, and I couldn't get back to the car at all. I don't have any cell service here. I do a little bit. It's spotty. I could probably get my phone, on this tripod, strap that to a stick. I've always had this thought that would work, lash this to a stick, to a long stick, and send a text message to my wife or my brother, and raise it way up, and get a text message to go out, with my coordinates or whatever. But I'm not in a position to be somebody that has one of those NReach or whatever you call them, those GPS doodads, and I'm never really too far from civilization. Like I said, the car is only like a half mile. But if in this terrain, it's very brambly, so or that's what I call it anyway, where it trips you up a lot. It's a lot of stuff on the ground. Once this is covered with a good amount of snow, almost all of this brush stuff will be all of that will be covered. And then with snowshoes, you'd be going right over the top of it. You'd be pretty high up. So that would make a lot of difference. That makes this be you know, instead of so tough to go through, it makes it a little bit easier. Other than snowshoeing is harder in its own right, but you know. So anyway, that was kind of a long video that probably nobody's going to watch, but I'll make a couple shorts out of it. Those always seem to get some traction. So these long form videos don't seem to usually grab much attention, but you know, I kind of don't care. So it's just, I do them for, you know, for myself and you guys that might actually like some of the content, you know, some of the fire techniques, and the fact that, you know, if something doesn't work, I will leave it in. You know, I don't care. We all learn from that kind of stuff. If something doesn't work, you know, it teaches you to try something else. Like this one I did, the ferro rod, those Exotac ferro rods are really, really soft. I like the rods. They throw good chunks of material, and then when they finally go, you know, they burn really, really hot. The problem is that I like the harder material for just firing down. Like in the winter time, normally I will switch about this time of year to the 5-inch, like just cheapy Amazon Bayite, I think they are, ferro rods. I'll usually keep those on my knife sheets this time of year, because those, when you fire them with a good sharp spine, you get a ton of material off. And I'll probably actually do a video on that, because this little one in my pocket's great. It's what I have, but I have 2 different lighters on me. I did a short after this with you know, just lighting some birch bark off of the tree right there, and with my lighter. You know, I've got almost an endless supply of birch bark there. You know, if I needed it, this dead piece that's right here is just teeming with flaky bits. I mean, it's hanging up there, so ideally I wouldn't want to rip it down and get whacked by it, but there's a ton of birch bark there if I were going to just slice in a little bit with my knife and peel some pieces and not just grab what's readily available. There's birch there. There's birch all the way down both ways of this river. I could find so much birch. There's a big piece of birch down right here. There's birch over there, but I'd have to go around that water to get at it. There's tons of pine in here. There's red pines that would have fat wood over, let's see, there. Let's see, that big, nope, that is so hard to see in this camera. That's a big red pine that's dead or dying. I mean, there's no needles on it. It's a big one. So that one's probably got a lot of chunks of fat wood in it or around it or near it. There's huge fat wood stumps out on the river. If I were, you know, not injured and could go over there, I could literally just take a bunch of this birch bark like I had here, and I'd never do it because I don't want to ruin those fat wood stumps. They're those big fat wood stumps that have been in the river for probably, I don't know, 100 years or whatever. They're huge, and they're up on the beach, you know, and they're just a huge fat wood, like driftwood stump. But all that's left is fat wood. If you shave it off with your knife, it's just all fat wood, right? So those, I mean, if you were in a real true emergency situation, you could chuck a bunch of birch bark inside of there and light it up and light that whole damn stump on fire if you needed to, you know, to get through the night or something like that. You know, there's always a way. So, you know, that's definitely a possibility. But so anyway, I'm going to burn this thing down, and it's almost out, and then I'm going to walk out of here. It's getting surprisingly dark for 3:30 or 3:25. I rounded up, but so 3:25, I've still got that much fire left. I should have had, you know, if I was staying, I should have been putting stuff on already by now. There's a ton of dry stuff, you know, right within vicinity that I could grab a hold of, even with the limited saw that I have. Things that'll break, things that will, you know, get me through. Ideally, I wouldn't be out here without a saw, you know, so that I could get, you know, actual firewood for the night and do a long fire. If I had to lay next to it or do 2 fires and lay between them, ideally, you know, but the car's right there, so, you know, car's a half hour out of here or whatever it's going to take me to walk. So anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry about the rambling.